Splatoon 3 is fast on track to becoming the most successful game in the series so far. However, despite the game's evident popularity, if you asked a Splatoon 3 player to talk about the current state of the game, a lot of them would sound something like this. The current state of Splatoon 3? The matchmaking sucks, why am I playing against Little Timmy in one match and then some top 100 god the next? The disconnects are endless, the maps are all shaped like a couple Tetris blocks, X-Rank wait times are horrendous, and why on earth are there random polls everywhere? And yet, if you ask those same Splatoon 3 players how frequently they play the game, many will respond with the same answer. Every single day. This got me thinking, what gives Splatoon its highly addictive qualities that mean in spite of players' complaints or reservations, they simply cannot stop coming back for more?
Speed. I am speed.
Splatoon is fast. Not only does the vast array of unique movement and unusual weapons create exciting and dynamic gameplay, but the length of an individual match is just 3 to 5 minutes. Other shooter games like COD average out at approximately 20 minutes per match, with games like Valorant sometimes even extending out to 45 minutes. At 45 minutes? On average, the average Valorant match will last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Huh. Well, the more you know. This means that even Splatoon's longest modes are still significantly shorter than the majority of other shooter games. And I believe that this plays a huge part as to why Splatoon is so addictive. You see, Splatoon matches have the TikTok effect. TikTok? Yes, TikTok. The TikTok effect. Yeah, what's TikTok got to do with this exactly? Well, if you let me get a word in edgeways, I might be able to explain. Now, TikTok and Splatoon have very little in common, except for one key factor: bingeability. When content is shorter, whether that's videos or video games, it's far easier to consume a lot of it without realizing just how long you've been doing so. Splatoon utilizes shorter but faster paced matches in a similar way to how TikTok uses quick videos to keep you engaged and playing for an overall longer period of time. Now, because the game of Splatoon is so much shorter than the majority of other shooter games, one more match and can't end on a loss syndrome are high. I'm sure it's happened to you before. You're about to get off Splatoon and you think to yourself, oh, actually, Splatoon matches aren't that long, so I have time to play one more, right? And guess what? You play that last game and you lose. But it's at this point you tell yourself, oh no, I can't end on a loss. So you play another match, and guess what? You win this one. But the problem is now you're on a high from your win, you're energized and you want to play again. So that's exactly what you do. Before you know it, time's flown by and you've been playing for another hour. So much for one last game, huh?
Red and yellow and green and brown.
If you ask anyone to describe Splatoon, one of the first words out of their mouth will undoubtedly be colourful. And for good reason. The game has more colours than a bag of Skittles and is as brightly lit as the Las Vegas Strip. But all of those colours aren't just for show. While they do help Splatoon to stand out from the seas of grey and brown and the this is war type environments we typically expect from a shooter game, this is not the only reason why they're such an integral part of Splatoon's branding. In fact, the bright colours actually play a huge part as to why you and I are addicted to the funny Squid Game in the first place. Bright colours stimulate the release of dopamine, or what some might call the feel-good chemical in our brain. They're the key to keeping us engaged and immersed in the game. If they were removed, a lot of Splatoon's appeal goes straight out the door with it. And if you want to test this theory out for yourself, I have a little challenge for you. Try changing your Switch to grayscale mode. Then boot up Splatoon 3 and play how you normally would. I'm talking use your normal weapons, use your favourite gear, just do whatever you would normally do. I guarantee that you have way less fun, you get bored way quicker, and you end up turning that game off way sooner than normal, because it's only when you take all those colours away that you realise just how important they were to your enjoyment of the game in the first place. We often associate brighter, more vibrant colours with positivity and energy, which when combined with the fast-paced nature of a Splatoon match and equally fast and upbeat music to go with it, well, you end up like me at an all-you-can-eat buffet where there's mozzarella sticks. You just can't get enough of the stuff. There comes a point when you know you probably should stop and put it down, but you keep going back for more anyway.
I'm better! I am better!
Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 have a lot of similar issues. To varying degrees, yes, but stuff like connection errors and less than ideal matchmaking definitely exist in both. In fact, I think most people would agree that connectivity issues like disconnects or lag are actually somehow worse in Splatoon 3. And no, I don't know how Nintendo managed to do that either. It makes zero sense, but here we are. And yet, despite all of that, I'd argue that a lot of us are racking up the hours in Splatoon 3 at a way quicker rate than we did in Splatoon 2. So just how are they doing? Well, it's quite simple. They made it easier for you to stay in the game. Or rather, they made it easier to keep you in the game. But what exactly do I mean by that?
What do you mean by that?
Well, let's start with badges. You see, badges are essentially a reward system centered around getting you to spend more time in the game. Whether it's consistent use of a certain weapon, a certain number of wins in a specific mode, or for reaching a general milestone. The game turns around and says to you, thanks for playing so much, here's something for giving us your time that you can display to the world. The rewards naturally make us feel good, since getting praise, especially for something you put time and effort into, is an incredibly addicting feeling. With this in mind, and there currently being 387 badges in the game at time of recording, it's no wonder Splatoon 3 has become such a difficult game to put down. Oh, and while we're on the topic of addicting feelings, why don't we talk about the shell-out machine? Remember that complaint a lot of people had towards the end of Splatoon 2 where they had tons of money in game and absolutely nothing to spend it on? Well, never fear, because in Splatoon 3 we have the shell-out machine to take all of your money.
Where's my money? Do you have my money? Where is it? You know, if you had the money, I'm right here. Do you have the money?
The shell-out machine is quite literally in-game gambling. You put the money in the machine and you hope you get lucky. I don't think I need to explain that gambling is addicting, we all know that it is, and so do the devs. So you want to know what they did next? They added conch shells to the mix. Yes, I know they're time limited, but conch shells take the already easily addictive nature of the shell-out machine and go full-on gambling to the max. How? Well, for 1 week in the lead up to Splatfest, you don't even need to put money in. They've basically said, if you play the game for longer, in exchange for all your time, we'll give you free turns at the shell-out machine. And since the more rolls you get, the better chance you pull a bigger prize, most of us eat this opportunity right up. I can tell you right now, I probably played twice as much around Splatfest as I did in Splatoon 2, purely because of the lure of the precious conch shell.
Oh, hail the magic conch!
Of course, these aren't the only ways that Splatoon 3 keeps you in the game for longer. Battle replays contribute to that too. In the previous game, if you wanted to review your matches to try and improve, you only had two options. You were either limited to looking at 30-second clips, but only if you remembered to hit the capture button on the Switch, or you had to use a capture card, which most people weren't going to have unless they were already streaming or making videos, since a decent one is going to set you back at least £100. Either way, you had to physically leave the game to do it, whereas now you could review every single match you played straight after playing it without ever leaving the game if you wanted to. There's also smaller things like finally being able to skip the news and having an interactive lobby that you can access between games. Both of these make you feel like you're doing less waiting, which is always a good plan if you're looking to try and keep players in the game for as long as possible. I know that all of these things, as relatively small as they may seem, have, even if subconsciously, contributed to a player's desire to keep playing Splatoon 3 for longer. Pretty much everything about the game is designed to be addictive, so if you find yourself struggling to put it down, you're not alone. But if you enjoyed today's video and want to keep satisfying your love for Splatoon while you're not playing the game, then I suggest you check out the video on screen now. But most importantly, stay positive, stay smiling, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!